While we wait for Sarah Wallace, we're going to give her a second chance today. She's not here. No, she's here. I feel like I picked on Sarah Wallace. She's the only one that got caught in the act. 12 of us robbed a quick trip, and she's the one that got caught. All right, so we'll give her a second shot. Wallace, just like William Wallace and Braveheart, right?
Yep.
Not a relative, as far as you know?
No.
And what's your story about?
Having a party.
Ooh, I like party stories. Go.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you guys about an experience I had. It was my freshman year, and it kind of set the tone for how the rest of the 4 years were going to go. It all started because my parents were going out of town. My mom was going to Colorado, and my brother, sister, and father were going to Milford Lake to go camping. They wanted me to go with them, but I was like, no, I'm too cool for that. So, I was trying to play it off. So me and my friend Blake, we came up with this plan, and we were going to have people over to my house. And my mom is one of the type that has to call and check, so she's like, oh, I just want to make sure Sarah's staying the night at Blake's house. And she checked with her mom, so her mom just played it off cool and kind of covered for us and said, yeah, she'll be here. And we ended up calling Blake's mom and saying, oh, Sarah's mom didn't go out of town anymore, so we're just going to stay the night at her house from now. So it started out we just called a couple people to come over, and it was about 8:30, and there was just 6 to 8 of us there. And we were just drinking and having a good time, and then it started that people would call some of the people that were there, and they'd say, oh, can I come over? And I'd be like, yeah, that's cool. And they would bring 5 other people with them. So by 10 o'clock, I had over 50 people in my house. And my house really isn't that big. It's only 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. And they were basically just overflowing. There's people in the backyard. There's people in the front yard, which is not good. And there's people in my garage. And I was kind of confused with that, so I went out there to check on what people were doing. And I opened the door to my garage, and a cloud of smoke just comes out. And I'm like, oh, crap. I am going to be in so much trouble. I just knew from that moment on that the night was not going to go well. So I went back inside because I'm trying to find someone that will help me kind of get people out of my garage. And the first thing I hear when I step foot into the house is, cops! And I'm like, oh, crap. I'm like, crap. But besides, I'm pushed out of the way. Everyone is oh, we gotta go. They're all running, and they hop this fence that's in my backyard. And a girl gets her jeans caught and ripped, and and then this bigger kid, he's tall and big, he goes to jump the fence, and it just folds in half. It just breaks. And it's because it's a chain link fence, so it must have been weak or something, and it just broke in half. And so first of all, I'm like, oh crap, my dad is for sure getting mad. And he had a garden back there, and they totally trampled it. But then that wasn't even in my mind, because all I could think about was that there was cops at my front door, and I was freaking out. So my first instinct was to hide. And so I go in my bedroom, and I'm like, oh, please go away. I'm wishing and hoping that they just leave. And soon I get a knock on the door, and they're like, Sarah, you have to come out here. They're asking for the person who lives here. And I'm like, oh, crap. And I had been drinking that night, too, so I was like, shoot, I'm in really big trouble. So I walk to the front door, and I'm trying to, keep it closed. But I knew the second, I tried to come up with a plan and be calm about it and say, everyone left, the music is off, there was no drinking going on, so you have to leave. Tell the cops that, And I know that plan is just completely ruined when I walk out into my living room because there are beer cans everywhere. I'm just like, oh, crap. And I look up on the mantle, which is creating a clear view of the front door, and there's a 40 sitting up there. So I was like, I don't think I'm going to get away with this. So then I talked to the police officer, and he's like, ma'am, do you live here? I'm like, yeah. And he just says, he's like, well, where are your parents? Where, I need to talk to an adult here. And I'm like, they're not here. I was like, they're out of town. And he says, okay, well, I have reason to believe that there's been teen drinking going on here, so I'm going to go ahead and search the premises. And I'm like, no, there's no need for that. And he just slams open the door, just boom, slams open the door, and almost puts a hole in my wall. And he has his flashlight up, which was retarded because the lights were on. And he's looking at all the alcohol, pointing it out, and he looks in my face, and he's just and you're telling me that you haven't been drinking tonight? And I'm like, no, I haven't been drinking. And then he asked me probably 10 more times, are you sure? And then he walks a little further into the house, and he looks to, over here, and probably beer cans or whatever. And then he goes to this way, and there's a hallway, and the first bedroom there is mine. So he looks down, and there's like a half bottle of liquor on the floor. And he's like, okay, so that's your bedroom, there's a bottle of liquor, and you're telling me that you haven't been drinking. I was like, yeah, I haven't been. And so he made me take a breathalyzer, and my parents had to get called, and they came home. So I was sitting in handcuffs at my dining room table, and it was my dad because he was the closest one. So my dad doesn't really yell, which I thought to begin with was a good thing. I was thankful it was him. But after a while, I really wasn't because he's a silent type, so he kind of killed me with that. Like, he didn't talk to me for a couple of days, actually. I knew that I had to clean everything up, so I got rid of, all the beer and everything, and then I got in trouble. I had an MIC, and I had to go to class with him. I had to go to an 8-hour class with my dad, so it was kind of, I guess I learned my lesson, so, yeah.